The blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
Whenever I start thinking about horror movies, the first subgenre that comes to mind is almost always the slasher. You get that iconic killer with the high body count, unique kills. It's just a lot of fun if you're into that kind of stuff, or really scary if you're into it in a different way. And so today I want to take a look at some slashers, some that I've enjoyed a lot, some not so much, and rank them by how scary I actually think they are. That's what we're taking into account today, how scary these guys actually are. We're going to be tackling these in chronological order, which means we're going to be starting off with Norman Bates from the movie Psycho. You can, be up in the air on whether or not you want to consider Norman a slasher or Psycho itself, even as a horror movie. But for, setting the template of things that were to come, it definitely did its part. It wasn't, like the first one to involve people getting killed or anything, but really that first movie to come in and be as popular as it was. The Psycho series ran for 4 movies, and in those movies, Norman was responsible for 11 different kills. When you compare him to, what would come along later on, he is pretty normal and not a very scary guy. I'm going to be putting Norman at D tier. Almost feel bad for him. In fact, a lot of the movies, the sequels that come after, deal with him, kind of getting over the stuff that has happened to him in his childhood and everything that came before. So again, kills aren't that crazy. He just uses a knife and everything. But just because he isn't scary doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to be, on the list. And probably out of everybody on this list, maybe the most well-acted, Anthony Perkins is just fantastic in the role. But just going off of how scary he is, he's not very high on the list for me. In the movie Black Christmas, we get the killer named Billy, and you don't actually see him in the movie, which kind of actually adds to the scare factor a little bit for me. In the original Black Christmas, he gets 6 kills. In the remake, he's pulling in 7 kills, so not that crazy numbers-wise compared to what we're going to be seeing a little bit later on. I'm going to be putting him, I'll put him at C just because not seeing him makes him a little scarier than actually seeing him. Because, that fear of the unknown, what we imagine is always worse than what we actually see. Like if you're a kid and you hear a horror movie, and before you actually see it, and when you do see it later on down the line, it's never as bad as what you imagined. What we imagine in our minds is always worse than what we will actually see beyond the screen. And so then that's going to be putting Billy at C tier. We're going to get into our first real horror icon, somebody that kind of gets used as a, almost a mascot for this time of year. There's going to be quite a few of those on this list. But Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one came out in 1974. Leatherface, though not always the same exact character, Leatherface, the name and the iconic image, has been in 8 different movies, with his biggest kill count in any of those movies being 7, and he has about 36 kills, give or take, that he has to his name throughout those movies. That's a big number when you're talking about a realistic thing, which is what that first Texas Chainsaw movie really has going for it. Leatherface is gross. Also, another thing, he's part of a cannibalistic family, so I know the idea of getting eaten after you're dead doesn't make dying any easier. Dude, he wears a mask made out of people's skin. I was kind of not wanting to put him up in S tier because if I'm just going off ones I like, Leatherface is nowhere near my top, but he's pretty scary. I think I'm going to go up to... We'll go S tier with Leatherface. Definitely not under any circumstances somebody you'd want to meet. And so, S tier. He's going to be, actually, I think, passed by Michael Myers from the Halloween series. I think Michael Myers is my favorite movie slasher. And I do like something that him and Leatherface both have in common, where they are, not talkative. They don't say anything. You'll get a little more vocalization out of Leatherface than you will out of Michael Myers, but neither of them are, taunting you or anything like that. There's other people in some of Leatherface's movies that do that, but not him personally. But Michael Myers himself, from John Carpenter's Halloween, he's been in 10 movies, with a new one coming out just like a couple weeks from now, maybe next week even. And really looking forward to that. Just rewatched the newest one again that came out in 2018. And The Shape, as he's called sometimes, is just, I mean, he is like the mascot of Halloween. It helps that his movie is called Halloween. His mask is just crazy iconic. The fact that it's just like a reworked William Shatner mask is still one of my favorite pieces of a movie trivia that everybody should know. And though he is like known for using just like a butcher knife as his go-to weapon, he has got some kills that are, you know, pretty differed, like the ways that he goes about killing people. I'm sure that if you take any of this out of context, I could sound like a real psychopath, but I do enjoy some of the kills that he does creative-wise. He's always hiding like in the background of places, and when you think you see something and you turn and it's not there, that always gives you like a feeling that we can all identify with and can understand how those people are feeling. And so Laurie Strode just having to deal with him over and over and over again. I think that's also something that helps him be such a good mascot or character for his movie series, is the fact that he has somebody who is like kind of tied to him. Now, sure, he had Dr. Loomis also back in like the older ones before Donald Pleasance passed away. But now having Laurie Strode just continuing to be that person who he's like always traumatizing, though now in the new movies it's kind of just seems like it's an accident that is happening. But no matter if it's like the Thorn trilogy or like the Rob Zombie ones, like he's just always scary, at least to me. He's a big guy who is just relentless, and like Donald Pleasance says, is pure evil, and there's no reasoning with him. And anything you can't reason with, just like the shark from Jaws, not being able to reason with him makes him more scary. I do just want to point out that Michael Myers has a crazy kill count number, up near like 133, depending on what versions of movies you're watching, director's cuts and everything, TV edits, and in one movie in particular, he's got 20 kills, and so he's really doing the work, and so he deserves to be this high on the list for sure. Pamela Voorhees, the actual killer of Friday the 13th, the original from 1980, is going to make our list as well. She's just an old lady in a sweater, though, so when it comes to being scary, she is kind of non-existent in that. Sure, she is like deranged and is, again, going around murdering people, but when you're up against the other people on this list, it's really just not going to cut it. Plus the fact that she's really easily dispatched of, once our main characters find out like who she is. And then the fact that they like didn't continue with her being the killer moving forward in the series, just also adds to her like just not being scary. She's just a normal lady. But still, a normal crazy lady with a knife would be at least kind of scary. And so I'm going to put her down right below Norman Bates. We're going to be hitting another classic character, though, with her son, Jason Voorhees, who took over in the following movie in part 2, and then moving forward throughout the series being the killer. There are a couple movies in there where it's weird, and I'm like, do I actually count those as Jason kills? There's one of them where he is just kind of possessing different people throughout the movie. It's there's like something that's inside of him, like this, that is making other people kill for him, and he himself doesn't actually do any murdering that movie. Or then there's part 5 where he is not in the movie at all, but it's just somebody dressing up as Jason who is going around and doing the killing, and so we don't want to count those ones for his kills either. But even with that being said, he still beats out Michael Myers when it comes to kills by hitting out up to 137. And then you just look at Jason and he's just huge. Like Michael Myers is a big guy, but like Jason is just a monster. He's just like scarily ginormous, and like you don't look at him for a second and think that there's a chance you can like take him physically, and then so you try to run away, and that just never works out for anybody. I've heard him described as like just the personification of rage. He is just angry, and you get that through a lot of the performances. He's been played by a bunch of different guys over the years, and they all bring their own little different takes to the movies. And man, he is just, again, somebody that when you see that silhouette, you see him like in the shadows, not going to be a good time for you. He had his team up with Freddy Krueger and Freddy vs. Jason. Then he went to space, and it's a real shame that we haven't seen him in a long time. The rights to his movies have been, in court battles for a long time, and that's scarier than like any thing that will happen in any of these horror movies. Your rights being tangled up in the courts, and so he's gonna be. I'm gonna go S tier also, but actually I'm gonna go A tier. The fact that he is so big almost makes him less like realistic, and then the fact that he's like legitimately like a zombie later on in the movie series, again, not as realistic. Not to say not scary. A is very high, and not to say that realism is the only thing that makes something scary, but just his size overall like almost kind of moves him at times into like the cool factor. Like he's been a playable character in Mortal Kombat, which, to be fair, he's not the only person on this list who has been there. I think something that keeps him off of getting up to the S tier is that a lot of the times in his movies you're almost rooting for him to get the people that he's going after, because the characters aren't necessarily like, I don't know, the best. And so that's going to be one of the things that knocks him down from S tier. But again, A tier is nothing to be upset about. Next up, we have the Miner from My Bloody Valentine. This is when they were really just getting into the, hey, we need to make serial killer movies based off of holidays. And so they're like, well, Valentine's Day is a holiday. Okay, My Bloody Valentine, what do we do? And then they're like, well, it's set in a mining town, and the miner kills people. They remade this movie in 2009 in 3D, and so he's had those two movies. The original had 10 kills, and then they really kind of turned it up when they went 22 in the remake. It's a good look. The mask is creepy. I like the headlamp, though it does kind of maybe give away your position from time to time. And the pickaxe is a scary weapon, though now it's kind of been co-opted by young people who play video games. But still, thinking about that thing, coming at you, swung by a maniac, not pleasant. And so I'm going to be putting him, because again, it's just like an occupation that he looks like. I'm going to be putting him in, I'll put him in C tier for now. Not a lot to say about them as a character. The character and everything is like almost not important. Though I'm sure some people will disagree with me on that. And if you do, about anything on the list, please let me know down in the comments below. Now, Freddy Krueger is kind of a complicated one when it comes to like how scary he is, because like just the concept of Freddy Krueger is scary. I remember being in elementary school and having no idea what he looks like or anything about the movies at all, but still hearing about him from people that I went to school with at lunch and thinking, man, that is a scary thing to think about, somebody who can get you in their dreams. And so, John and Manny, I had nightmares because of your description of Freddy Krueger way back in like 3rd grade. And so that kind of speaks to it. But at the same time, Freddy Krueger has been around so long and been, I don't know, like not polluted, but like kind of changed with all the different movies. He's become like more wisecracking, telling jokes, and again, just like Jason, you're really kind of rooting for him to get people some of the time. Though Wes Craven did try to like reboot his creation back with New Nightmare and make him like a more serious threat and something that people could actually be scared of again. He's got 9 different movies that he's been in, but only has about 60 kills to his name. And I think the more like imaginative your kills have to be, the less of them there will be, because you just actually have to put more work into it. It's not like Michael Myers is there and there's like 3 people, and so he stabs 3 people, like, and then you're like, oh, that's what he did. With Freddy Krueger, he's got like specific things that he does when he goes into your dreams and kills you in your dreams, and then you die in real life. Plus the fact that he was like a child killer before he was even like a scary burnt up nightmare demon also makes him scary. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to get him up into the S tier of scary wise at this point. especially because it's not like when he's funny he's bad. It's like when he's funny he's still good. Like, in fact, that might be like my more preferred version of Freddy Krueger. And so I'm gonna keep him in the A tier, and I'm gonna put him right above Jason because, you know, just the dream stuff. Even though in their team up movie, you know, he needs Jason's help to even be scary anymore. He'll always be a little scarier to me. Pinhead from Hellraiser, though, I'm gonna be putting him up in S tier because I don't know. There's just something about the Cenobites that really like put me at unease. And I think that's like on purpose, right? That's why they're designed to look the way that they do. If we were going off of just how much the characters actually do killing, and he would not be very high on this list at all. And in fact, I'm sure there's some people who would say like don't even put him on a list of the slashers because he isn't a slasher, and that is also really fair. Like in most of the movies that he's in, of the 10 movies, he doesn't do a ton of killing. Like, it goes 2 kills, then he's got 0 kills, but then he's got 16 kills in the third one. It's like, I don't know. He's definitely done enough killing, I think, to end up on the list. And then we just look at his design, and he's just scary. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, and at Toys R Us, they would have like the aisle where there was just kind of like the miscellaneous action figures, and there were always horror action figures. And I didn't watch scary movies. I didn't like scary movies, but I was always wanting to go over and just kind of peek and take a look at these things. And the Hellraiser one was always one where it's like, that guy is really messed up. And it isn't one that's really changed that much with the age for me. Like, I still look at Pinhead and I'm like, man, that guy is like really messed up. And so I'm happy to have him up in the S tier. Now we get to Charles Lee Ray himself. Chucky, my number one being afraid of as a kid, though now as an adult. I just enjoy Chucky. He's got 8 movies that he's been in. He's pulling 7 kills in almost every single one of those. And something I enjoy about these movies is that they don't really, I mean, they did do the remake, but they haven't really just like reset the continuity. Like, the remake is in its own thing, but they still are also making things that, including the new show, that go along with the story that started all those years ago with the first Child's Play back in 1988. And I think that that's cool to have that kind of a commitment. He's rolling in about 54 kills throughout the year, but he is still, you know, not crazy scary, right? He's not that scary because of his size. It's his big detractor. Like, even in the first movie, they're able to like kind of pick him up, and it's only the fact that he can like surprise you that makes him something you got to worry about. I'm gonna put him at B tier because, I don't know, just for nostalgia's sake for me, I guess. Definitely something that I was afraid of. Definitely something I had to get over. And I'm happy to say that I did, because now I really do enjoy that series quite a bit. Candyman is going to be up in the A tier when it comes to scares, because there's just something about having to go into a room and say something to summon like the scary thing that's going to happen that makes it so it's not something you want to do. Like, I know Candyman is just made up, but I still don't want to go into a room and say his name 5 times into a mirror, right? It's like Bloody Mary. It's like, I know it's not real, but why risk it, right? And so that automatically, when it kind of crosses over into the real world, that automatically gets you pretty high on the list. It's got a great design. Tony Todd has got a crazy awesome voice, and the bees, I think, is also just a nice touch, and yeah, just super cool. A tier for me on Candyman. Ghostface from the Scream series is another one that I really love. Scream might be, I think Scream might be my favorite, at least slasher series. It might, I think I'm going to go out and say yes, it is. But Ghostface himself is not crazy scary. It's a great design, super iconic. The mask is fantastic, but the fact that Ghostface is not like one certain character throughout the entire series kind of knocks it down for me. There's different situations that Ghostface gets, like, people get one over on Ghostface that make it so he doesn't seem as threatening. Like in the first one, he's like getting beer bottles thrown at him, and it kind of knocks him down. I was like, well, I mean, he is human after all. But still, anybody who wants to cut you open with a knife and is wearing a mask like that, I think is scary. And the fact that he's just doing it in normal homes and like calling you and threatening you, and the voice, oh, I forgot about the voice, just like, at least that stayed consistent. So I'm going to be getting him right there on B. Now, to say Jigsaw, like himself or itself, as is portrayed throughout the entire series of the Saw movies, I don't know, it's kind of hard to pin it down, right? Because there's like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different people who are like Jigsaw. There is John Kramer, who is like the original and like the mastermind of all of it, but like he doesn't stick around for like a majority of those movies. And even like him himself is not that scary. Like you get Billy on the puppet on the tricycle, which is good, and then you've got the pig mask stuff, which is again scary. Being in like hiding in closets and grabbing people. Like the idea of waking up somewhere and having what's going on being as bad as what is happening with people in that movie series, it's definitely not good. I think I'm gonna be putting, like, just for the killer itself, be putting it right below Chucky. I think B tier is a good tier for that. Now I made sure to put the Gingerdead man on this list just so I could make sure and have at least one F tier. Gary Busey plays the Gingerdead man, who is a guy who kind of in like a mockery of the Child's Play movies, like gets killed in a bakery instead of a toy store, and his blood gets into some gingerbread dough, and so he comes back as the Gingerdead man. And man, those movies are not good, and you don't need to watch them, and it's a cookie that's killing people. Not scary, just bad. Yeah, I mean, in high school, I don't think everybody does this, but me and my friends definitely got into, let's rent the worst looking movies we can find and watch them. And sometimes they're so bad they're good, but sometimes they're just so bad they're just bad. And as bad as those movies were, that's how unscary the Gingerdead man was as well. Now when it comes to so bad that it's good, though, I do love Santa's Sleigh, and I think that some of it has to do with the fact that how much I like Bill Goldberg, the professional wrestler who plays Santa. Now, out of everybody on our list, he has the most kills in a single movie with 33, which is impressive. And like I said, I do enjoy that movie a lot, but man, it takes a lot to make Santa scary, and I don't think a slasher is going to do that. Maybe a movie Monster could do that, and we could talk about that a little bit later on in the month. But when it comes to like just a slasher, a killer, he's just not that scary. I don't want to put him in F tier, but I guess when it comes to scariness, I'm gonna do it. Bill, Mr. Goldberg, I love you, and I love you as Santa Claus. It's not your fault that it's not scary. Victor Crowley from the Hatchet series is next up on our list, and man, what a just gross looking individual. He gets some crazy kills. Like there's a belt sander involved on a face at one point, and like he legit just rips a lady's jaw off. The Hatchet movies are just like so nasty. Like with like in their attitude and like and with the kills. Not ones that I really want to go back to at all, but he's memorable, and his name Victor Crowley is a good name. Perfect like urban legend name. Did you hear about the legend of Victor Crowley? He's still pretty unsettling to look at. I'll put him up in B tier. I'll go B tier, right above Billy. Again, we're to another movie which I don't even know if you really should call it a horror, especially with the sequel. But the Bayfield Babyface killer from Happy Death Day, a movie where a girl named Tree gets stuck in like a time loop and keeps getting killed by this killer over and over and over again. And this movie, both of them actually, are I think, really good. Just, like, if you like science fiction, horror, or slashers, or even just like dark comedies, like, I think that those movies are both just a lot of fun. I think this design is pretty good. It's creepy enough that when my kids see the mask like on an ad on YouTube or something, they're like, I don't like that. I don't want to be looking at it. But like at the same time, it's the mascot for the school, so it's not necessarily meant to be like super creepy, and it's also just a baby. So I think I'll put it down. I think I'm gonna put it down here on the D tier. Just not that spooky. Now, our last one, though, from a movie that came out just last year, I wanted to include the Blissfield Butcher, which is just, it's just Vince Vaughn, right? He does wear a little bit of a mask at the beginning of the movie, and then he does switch bodies with the girl and runs around as Millie for most of the movie. And though this movie, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say. Once you've been watching horror for so long, you stop saying, like, feeling like things are scary. It's hard to be able to say what is and isn't supposed to be scary anymore, because I don't know, you just kind of get used to different things, and it's like, oh yeah, here comes the kill, it's building up, oh, the music cuts out, here it is, here's the time. And the movie kind of plays by all those rules, but at the same time, it's Vince Vaughn, and so he can be pretty scary. So he does just kind of fall into that like normal person category, and so it's going to get him down here, I think, into D. So that's our list. Do I have like a huge person I forgot to put on my list? Let me know. Like, those are the most important ones I want to know right now. Like, sure, let me know who your number one scariest slasher is, but most importantly, did I really leave off somebody? Like, I'm sure there is somebody that's like, oh, duh, Seth, why didn't you put them on there? Now, if it's a monster, again, just wait a couple weeks. We're going to be hitting up on monsters real soon, and I'm looking forward to doing that. Thanks for watching this video. Please, if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're putting out new videos every single Saturday, spooky ones through October, and looking forward to doing that. Thanks again for being here. You're awesome. Have a great week, and we'll see you next weekend.